We want to really create a circular economy for ZIL, and that really comes in three aspects. First, we will have to tackle the staking for ZIL, so that it rewards the holders for actually holding on top of ZIL, and that's going to be implemented through the seed note staking program with delegation in place coming Q3 this year. And second, we want to power the open finance ecosystem using ZIL as the medium of exchange and also as the liquidity incentive to try to pull some liquidity over from, for example, the Ethereum chain. And the ultimate aim really for this open finance ecosystem within Zilliqa is to try to bridge between the ASEAN world and also with the US world, between ASEAN stablecoins like IDR, VND against the USDC and USDT. And last of all, we're going to talk about how we can accrue value towards ZIL as the ZIL transactions happen to increase over time as adoption actually happens. So there's growth in the economy of ZIL. And that's by means of actually burning the transaction fees in terms of ZIL.
The price of Zilliqa is still not 2 cents, but we are doing better than the other days. We are up by 2%. You see, the price of Zilliqa is definitely going to do extremely well in the future. If you guys are going to be long-term holders, I guarantee you the price of Zilliqa is really going to end up going as high as $1, even $2, because the token economics are very, very crazy. And in today's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you the ecosystem, the token economics of Zilliqa, and just how the ecosystem is meant to increase in value. And looking at the price of about $1, right, obviously that's going to give us a very high market cap, but that is not very far-fetched, because just as we continue improving the whole blockchain industry, the whole entire cryptocurrency market is going to be worth trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, and Zilliqa can easily reach $2, $1, even $10. So anyway, without further ado, kindly watch Han as he explains how the Zilliqa token economics are going to be working as far as Zilliqa is concerned.
Hello everyone, I'm Han Wen, the VP of Ecosystem Growth at Zilliqa. And today I'm going to touch on a topic that's of high regards to you guys, and that is the tokenomics changes towards ZIL. This is going to be phrased as the Zilliqa Improvement Proposal, the ZIP, and we're going to request for comments from the community members before we implement it. But we are kicking things off as of today. So what is the tokenomics changes that we're looking at? First, we have to look at the verticals that we want to actually focus on in the next coming quarters. We want to really create a circular economy for ZIL, and that really comes in three aspects. First, we will have to tackle the staking for ZIL, so that it rewards the holders for actually holding on top of ZIL, and that's going to be implemented through the seed note staking program with delegation in place coming Q3 this year. And second, we want to power the open finance ecosystem using ZIL as the medium of exchange and also as the liquidity incentive to try to pull some liquidity over from, for example, the Ethereum chain. And the ultimate aim really for this open finance ecosystem within Zilliqa is to try to bridge between the ASEAN world and also with the US world, between ASEAN stablecoins like IDR, VND against the USDC and USDT. And last of all, we're going to talk about how we can accrue value towards ZIL as the ZIL transactions happen to increase over time as adoption actually happens. So there's growth in the economy of ZIL. And that's by means of actually burning the transaction fees in terms of ZIL. And we're going to burn it in a way that is actually recycled back into the 0x0 address where the block rewards pool actually comes from. So to summarize, is that the tokenomics changes is really about creating incentive for people to stake and also incentive for people to hold on to ZIL as it accrues value as the Zilliqa blockchains get adopted more and more. And there's three means of doing that, which is transaction fees is going to be burnt, the DS block reward has to be increased in order to accommodate for the stakers rewards pool. So we have to actually increase the annual inflation by about 40%. And we also have to reallocate some of the DS block rewards. Instead of 95% to 5% right now for miners versus stakers, we're going to change it up a bit to 60-40%. So what it means really for the miners actually is that with the increase in block rewards and also the reallocation, they will face actually a minus 12% from their current rewards. and we are going to talk to them about actually giving them a seed node so that they can operate and also be able to stake their mine rewards directly into the rewards pool, so that there's no selling pressure in some sense, and they also get rewarded in the staking program. So what it means with all these tokenomics changes for staking. First, with delegated staking coming up in Q3, let's put that aside. We actually have a few delegated seed node operators that's all going to come on board, and there's really just the Zilliqa people, the community that's amazing, and the Mullet, well, amazing wallet, and there's our favorite Build Block Explorer that's going to operate one of the seed node operators, and the Atomic wallet, which has already committed also at the same time. And for staking going forward with the tokenomics changes, we can actually uncap it, so we don't have to cap it at 610 million ZILs, which is in phase 0 right now. So phase 1 will be uncapped. And with the uncap, right, we also want to try to hit some staking interest that is of interest to people. So if the staking interest rate is actually quite low, people might not want to stake, and that is where, with all the parameters changes that we're suggesting, at an 80% circulating supply stake, we can also have about more than 6% interest rate for the holders. So this is the outlook that we're looking at. And if you really want to take a look at how the interest rate changes according to the circulating supply that's being staked, you can see that as if there's a very little interest in the staking, the interest rate is quite high, so that people have more interest into staking it. And you could go up to 48% at the start, where there's no circulating supply being staked, and then going all the way to somewhere around 6% when there's 80% stake. If 100% is being staked, we can still have at least 4% of interest rate for the holders. But with all these changes, right, for the emission cycles, and also with you can see actually that might be some inflation going on. So how are we going to combat that? And that's where the burning of transaction fees comes in. So if what we want to achieve is that if the transaction fees that is being burned is more than the block rewards that's being newly minted and added to the circulating supply, you can actually have a very low net inflation going on, and also even net deflation going on. And we're going to approach that by doing two things. First, we're going to change the gas mechanics, increasing the transaction gas limit for the blocks by 185% to accommodate more transactions, so that we can have higher throughput, more transactions, and more transaction fees being burned. We're going to reduce a bit of the seller operating gas consumption because of the increase in the decrease in the execution time that we have done with seller operations, thanks to our optimization of the platform. This will try to reduce the gap between the gas cost for payment transactions and also the smart contract transactions. And last, we're going to increase the minimum gas price by 100%, so from 0.001 ZIL to 0.002 ZIL. This will overall increase the gas cost in order to facilitate more burning of transaction fees. So these are the three different changes for the gas mechanics we are proposing ahead. And with that, actually you can see the effects on transaction fees. So if, let's say, we have a conservative number, 50% of the transaction block of 2.5 million gas being filled at any point of time, then you can translate that to around a net inflation of about 1.22%. And 50% filled block actually is not that hard to achieve for a high throughput blockchain, because it translates to about 120 transfers for ZRC2 tokens per second, 120 ZRC2 token transfers per second. And you think about it, it's actually really possible, considering all the stablecoins that we're going to mint with our partners, and we're going to bridge across, and all the utility tokens that we can power using the Zilliqa blockchain. So definitely, if 50%, I feel that it's achievable. And if actually you see that if our transactions actually scales, or adoption actually scales with time going forward, if the average filled block is more than 60%, we can have even net deflation going on. And that is one key factor. Net deflation could actually decrease the circulating supply in the entire supply pool, and we will be able to make ZIL more scarce, and also accrue more value towards ZIL as the growth of the platform actually increases. So how are we going to power so many transactions on top of Zilliqa? How are we going to actually create the growth within Zilliqa ecosystem? And that's really through the open finance initiative that we are going to spearhead with the ZIL growth program that we have. ZIL growth program is going to be a 3 pillars program where there's educational side to educate people about Zilliqa and blockchain. And we have the grants side, which is going to give out grants towards people who are building proof of concept and also infrastructure toolings for Zilliqa. And there's also the accelerator program that we're creating with the Tribe Accelerator team in order to incubate and accelerate companies that are building open finance products on top of Zilliqa blockchain. And if you take a look at the open finance technological stack right now, you can actually see that we have pretty mature layer 1 and layer 0, and we are looking to build up the layer 2 and 3 currently. And one of the key achievement that we will have for layer 3 is going to be the DEX that's coming out in Q3 2020 this year. That's the DEX that we're building together with our partner Switcho called ZIL Swap. And with the ZIL Swap DEX, we can actually power the higher level layers, for example the app layer, where there's the lending facilities, lending protocols, remittance services, and C2B cross-border payments. So these are the people that we are, the app layers are people we are looking for currently, actively. And if you have any of the leads, business leads coming forward, please email them to enquiry@zilliqa.com, and I will actually relay back to you guys on that as much as possible. And the immediate plans for open finance in Zilliqa. So with ZilSwap actually launching in Q3 this year, the first thing that we're going to do is to create the liquidity pool for ZIL XSGD pair. And we're going to actually create a liquidity incentive for people to mint XSGD on the Express platform, and also pool their ZIL XSGD that's minted into the liquidity pool. And they will receive rebate tokens in return, which could be in the form of ZIL itself or could be in the form of ZRC tokens. And we are still in the midst of discussing the mechanics and details together with our partner Switcho. The rewards for the rebate tokens will be put up on a weekly basis so that the liquidity providers can actually claim the rewards on a weekly basis. And we're going to set up the same incentive structure for other tokens that are going ahead for the liquidity pools. So one of which is actually the focus, which is ZIL BUSD pair. After the ERC20 to ZRC2 breach by the Switcho team is created. There are also more stablecoins that we're targeting, like for example USDC, USDT, and we want to suck as much liquidity away from other blockchains like Ethereum, Tron, into Zilliqa as possible. The Switcho breach is targeted to launch in Q4 of this year, and we're going to integrate it directly into the ZIL Swap exchange, so it'll be easy for people to interface with it. So what we really think of the open finance user experience will be like for example, for the use case of cross-border C2B, cross-border settlement. And if you take a look at the trade between Bob, who is the user, and Alice, who is the merchant, Bob will just deposit the SGD into Express and receive the newly minted XSGD in his Moonlit wallet, and he will use the XSGD to pay using Moonlit towards Alice, directly within the wallet itself. And if Moonlit already integrated ZilSwap exchange APIs inside it, Alice could actually receive BUSD directly because there's a swap going in the background that's happening. The backend is trying to power this. So Alice doesn't really have to have any exposure to SGD at all. She could just receive BUSD for her goods and services from Bob. And what Alice can do after, she can use the ZBUSD that she has within her Moonlit wallet and put it and deposit it into Binance exchange and receive USD in return in her bank account. So this is kind of like the whole user experience we'll see for cross-border C2B settlements that going forward. And what are the future plans for OppFi adoption? So first thing first, we're going to create open API connectors on ZilSwap DEX, and with that we can actually integrate easily into wallets services, for example Moonlit, as we explained earlier, and also with other things like lending services, which also requires the DEX in the middle. And this will make it so that the open finance ecosystem and Zilliqa is more composable, and you can build layers upon layers of financial technology on top of it, and you'll create a permissionless innovation of open finance stack on top of it. And we're also going to talk to more issuers of ASEAN stablecoins, such as the focus is going to be on like the IDR, which is the Indonesian rupee, and also VND, which is Vietnam Dong. We're currently in the midst of discussing with our partners right now in order to create and mint such tokens, stablecoins. And once they are minted, we are also going to create liquidity pool incentives for the ZIL IDR pair and the ZIL VND pair on top of ZIL Swap. So we can facilitate more FX trades between, for example, SGD to IDR, IDR to USD, and also VND to USD and VND to SGD. We're also going to work with centralized exchanges to help list ZIL fiat pair, for example, ZIL IDR, ZIL VND on more centralized exchanges out there that are popular, so that we can create a more liquid market there, and the market makers for the ZIL Swap DEX could arbitrage between the centralized exchange pair and also the pair on top of the ZIL Swap DEX, so that we can maintain the packs and to prevent the spread on the ZIL Swap DEX from being too much. So this is the few things that we're really going to work ahead in order to make sure that we can actually facilitate such cross-border settlements and trade finance, and also other kind of use cases that we might not have think of. But last of all, we're also going to work on compliance tools. Open finance must actually work together with the regulators in order to be compliant in future, and that's going to be one of the main focus for Zilliqa going forward. We're going to work with our partners within ZIL Hive in order to create compliance tools in order to fulfill things like the AML laws, to fulfill the KYC requirements, and also the FTA travel rule that is going to be implemented by June of 2021 next year. So we're going to be the first mover in that. We want to push ahead with this and create a compliant and also open finance ecosystem on top of Zilliqa. So with that, I'll conclude this presentation. Thank you very much for your time for listening to me. I hope you have a happy 3rd anniversary for Zilliqa. Happy ZIL Tree Day. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Pretty exciting stuff, right? Anyway, that's all I had for you today. I really hope that you found this very eye-opening, and in case you've got any other contributions, kindly drop everything in the comment section below. I'm obviously going to be talking to you a little bit later. Have fun, take care, and God bless you.